1 minute ago, the courtroom was just another legal battlefield. Then Diddy locked eyes with Jason Momoa, and everything erupted. What started as a quiet hearing turned into a media firestorm, with whispers of betrayal, hidden recordings, and a past neither man wanted exposed. This isn't just courtroom drama, this is a full-blown collision of Hollywood titans. It was supposed to be an ordinary Tuesday morning at the Roybal Federal Building in downtown Los Angeles. A slate of hearings was scheduled, routine legal motions, procedural statements, and a few notable names. But nothing in the docket prepared the courthouse staff, or the world, for what would unfold between two of Hollywood's most polarizing figures, Sean Diddy Combs and Jason Momoa. The mistake started with a clerical oversight. Diddy was scheduled for a pre-trial hearing linked to an ongoing investigation regarding financial misconduct and alleged witness interference. Jason Momoa, on the other hand, was appearing as a character witness in a defamation lawsuit involving a studio executive. The court calendar placed both appearances just 40 minutes apart. But a procedural delay in Diddy's case meant both men arrived at the security checkpoint within 5 minutes of each other. From the moment their names were called out for clearance, the tension was unmistakable. Jason, dressed in a muted navy suit, sunglasses pulled down over tired eyes, walked into the security lane with deliberate calm. Diddy, clad in a charcoal gray designer ensemble that screamed quiet authority, followed close behind. For a moment, neither acknowledged the other. But body language spoke volumes, shoulders tightened, jaws clenched, gazes deliberately misdirected. The murmurs started as soon as they were spotted together. Wait, is that Diddy and Momoa? What are they doing in the same courthouse? By the time both men had passed through security and were led toward separate courtrooms, the lobby had begun to buzz like a lit fuse. Courthouse clerks whispered to one another. 2 U.S. Marshals exchanged raised eyebrows. Even the metal detector screeched louder than usual, almost like it sensed what was coming. But it wasn't until both men were mistakenly escorted to the same private holding area that things truly took a turn. The waiting room, normally reserved for high-profile individuals seeking privacy before their court appearance, was empty except for a security guard and a clerk from the DA's office reviewing paperwork. Jason arrived first, taking a seat in the far left corner, scrolling through his phone, headphones in. Then the door opened. Diddy entered with his attorney, pausing mid-step when he saw who was seated. Jason looked up slowly, removing one earbud. Their eyes met. For a few seconds, the room froze. No words were exchanged. But the energy shifted instantly, sharp, heavy, suffocating. Jason's knuckles tightened around his phone. Diddy adjusted his cufflinks with a forced nonchalance. A silence settled that wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. The clerk sensed it and quietly excused herself. Outside the courthouse, the real chaos was just beginning. A TMZ photographer had caught a glimpse of both men entering the building. By 10:17 a.m., TMZ had posted a blurry photo of Diddy and Momoa walking up the courthouse steps, together. The headline was vague but tantalizing. Exclusive, Diddy and Jason Momoa spotted at LA courthouse, coincidence. By 10:35 a.m., the video hit social media. By 10:40 a.m., Diddy and Momoa was trending on X. The public had no context yet. But the rumor mill didn't wait for facts. One viral post asked, didn't something go down between them at that yacht party in 2021? Another, Momoa looks like he's burning holes through Diddy. And another, why would these two be in the same building unless someone's about to explode? Inside, the tension was mounting. A junior court officer finally realized the mix-up and moved quickly to reassign Jason to a nearby witness prep room. As he was escorted out, Jason passed Diddy again, this time without avoiding eye contact. He held Diddy's gaze as he walked past, pausing for half a second. This shouldn't have happened, Jason muttered, just low enough that only Diddy, and his lawyer, could hear. Diddy didn't respond. But he smirked. The staff member escorting Jason picked up on the unease. Everything okay, Mr. Momoa? Jason nodded. For now. Back in the courtroom hallway, more media had arrived. Paparazzi shouted questions. Jason, are you testifying against Diddy? Diddy, are you going to respond to the allegations? Neither man answered, but their bodyguards flanked them with increased urgency, pushing through the swelling crowd of reporters and legal staff. Behind closed doors, whispers were growing louder among courthouse employees. A legal intern from the DA's office claimed she overheard a bailiff referencing an incident years ago involving both men and a mutual acquaintance. Another source swore Jason had been warned not to get involved in Diddy's affairs. By noon, the The press had fully seized the story. 3 separate news vans were parked outside, broadcasting live updates on a situation nobody understood. But everybody was watching. Inside the courtroom, Jason sat quietly behind the witness stand, waiting for his scheduled testimony. Across the hall, Diddy prepared for his own hearing, speaking in hushed tones with his attorney. He glanced at the door more than once. At 12:15 p.m., court officials issued a statement. Today's hearings are proceeding as scheduled. Any overlap in scheduling was unintentional. But it was too late. The world had seen the tension. The accidental proximity of 2 very different public figures had lit a match, and the oxygen was social media. By the end of the day, every outlet from Page 6 to The Guardian was running coverage. What no one knew yet, what few even suspected, was that the real story had nothing to do with the courthouse itself. This wasn't just a scheduling error. This was history catching up. And Jason's glare? That wasn't anger. That was unfinished business. The news spread like wildfire. Within hours of the courtroom encounter, gossip blogs, celebrity podcasts, and TikTok conspiracy accounts were deep in speculation mode. The footage was grainy, the photos inconclusive, but the tension in Jason Momoa's stare and Diddy's smirk told a story people were desperate to hear. And in the absence of facts, the internet did what it does best. It dug. One name kept surfacing alongside theirs, Lana Cruz. A former Victoria's Secret model and aspiring actress, Lana had once been photographed with both men, separately, over the past few years. But the thread that really blew the conversation open came from a fan account that posted a single, suspiciously specific question. Wasn't there a weird yacht party in 2021 where all 3 of them were seen leaving separately, at 4 a.m.? That one tweet detonated an avalanche. By midday, the hashtag #YachtGate2021 was trending. Photos from that weekend in St. Barthélemy were unearthed by fans and tabloid archives alike. One showed Jason on the deck of a luxury yacht, shirtless and drinking what looked like a mojito. Another, from just hours later, captured Diddy on the same vessel, laughing beside an unidentified woman whose face was blurred. Then came the crown jewel, a single photo posted, then quickly deleted, by a yacht crew member in 2021, showing Diddy, Jason, and Lana seated awkwardly at the same dinner table, with Lana's body language noticeably tense. That image reignited everything. Suddenly, speculation was no longer abstract. It had form, faces, and fragments of a timeline. People started asking the harder questions. Why had both men refused to speak publicly about that trip? Why had Lana all but vanished from public view in early 2022? And why had her Instagram posts from that period been wiped entirely? It didn't take long for sleuths to uncover the NDA angle. An anonymous source claiming to be a former entertainment lawyer posted a series of since-deleted tweets detailing a multi-party non-disclosure agreement signed in December 2021, related to an incident at sea involving 2 high-profile male celebrities and 1 female entertainer. The details were vague, but the implication was clear. What happened on that yacht was not just scandalous, it was legally suppressed. A podcast host named Blake Durham, known for his deep dives into celebrity scandals, released a 30-minute emergency episode titled The Night the Ocean Went Quiet. He walked listeners through a theoretical timeline of the night, including alleged arguments, one guest leaving the yacht abruptly, and an apparent bribe to a staff member for handing over a phone. That's when things got even messier. A man claiming to be a former bodyguard for a Grammy-winning mogul spoke anonymously to a tabloid journalist and made a chilling claim. There was video footage from that night. It was allegedly taken on a crew member's phone and showed a verbal altercation that got physical. According to the source, it was bad enough that everyone involved wanted it buried immediately. The tabloid published a partial transcript of the alleged video, claiming the following lines could be heard. Jason, yelling, "You think this is funny? You crossed the line." Diddy, quietly, "You don't know what you're getting into." Lana, crying, "Stop. Just stop it, both of you." The quote was impossible to verify, but it spread like wildfire anyway. Back on social media, people began demanding answers. Lana Cruz's name trended, though she hadn't posted in over 6 months. Her last known public appearance had been at a fashion show in Milan, where she reportedly refused all interviews and left early. A recent comment on one of her old Instagram posts simply read, "If you're safe, blink twice." Internet detectives unearthed even more. A shell company registered in Lana's name just 2 months after the yacht party, later linked to a property in rural New Mexico. Some speculated it was a payoff. Others wondered if it was a place to hide. Either way, the theory had traction. Lana had been silenced. And the two men in that courtroom, Diddy and Jason, knew why. The media wasn't far behind. By Thursday morning, Vanity Fair had quietly assigned a reporter to revisit the yacht incident. Rolling Stone reached out to representatives for both men. Neither camp responded. But that silence only fed the beast. Screenshots of no-comment emails from their PR teams became proof of guilt for those who already believed the worst. In a since-deleted story post, a stylist who once worked with Lana posted a cryptic message. "I told her not to go on that boat. It was only up for 45 minutes, but it was enough." By that evening, a YouTube video titled "The Momoa-Diddy Feud Explained, Yacht Party Truth" had hit 1 million views. Back at the courthouse, the mood was shifting. What had begun as a tense coincidence was now a full-blown scandal. Security was doubled. Reporters were banned from the upper floors. Staff were instructed not to discuss any high-profile guests. But whispers still circulated. Jason had been seen speaking heatedly with his legal advisor. Diddy had reportedly demanded an emergency meeting with his PR team, refusing to proceed with scheduled depositions. Even court officials were uneasy. One staffer was overheard saying, "This is no longer about justice. It's about containment." Outside, protesters began arriving. Some carried signs reading "Justice for Lana." Others simply wore shirts that read "You went too far," a reference to the alleged line from the leaked transcript. In an effort to de-escalate, a judge ordered a partial media blackout, citing the sensitive nature of overlapping proceedings. But the damage was done. The world had been reminded of something crucial: secrets buried don't stay buried forever. And whatever happened in 2021 had left cracks, deep ones, that no NDA could cover forever. The stage was set. The players were positioned. And the past was now demanding center stage. The marble courtroom was quiet, save for the scratch of a stenographer's pen and the occasional cough from the gallery. The silence wasn't calm. It was electric. Every spectator, reporter, and legal clerk knew what was coming next. Jason Momoa was about to take the stand. The hearing wasn't supposed to be about him. The case at hand involved a defamation lawsuit filed by a former executive producer against a major film studio. Jason had been subpoenaed as a character witness to testify about the accuser's professional conduct. But ever since the now infamous courthouse encounter with Diddy 2 days earlier, the courtroom had become something else entirely: a stage. Jason entered slowly, wearing a dark gray suit with an open collar, his long hair tied loosely back. No flashy entourage, no visible security, just a quiet, intense presence. He didn't look at the gallery. He didn't look at the opposing counsel. But he did glance briefly across the room, to where Diddy sat, across the hall behind tinted glass, waiting for a separate hearing scheduled later that day. Their eyes met again. A whisper ran through the crowd. Judge Helen Wexler, known for her no-nonsense demeanor, cleared her throat. "Mr. Momoa, please be reminded you are under oath. Limit your answers to the scope of the question. Do you understand?" Jason nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." The attorney for the plaintiff approached the podium, careful and deliberate. "Mr. Momoa, thank you for being here today. Can you confirm how long you've known Ms. Blackwood, the executive in question?" "Roughly 10 years, Jason said. His voice was calm, low, but unmistakably powerful. "We met during early talks for a pilot that never went through." "And in that time, would you say she conducted herself professionally?" Jason paused. "In the beginning, yes. Later, not always." The courtroom shifted uncomfortably. The lawyer blinked. "Could you clarify that?" Jason's brow furrowed slightly. "Power can be addictive. It changes people. Especially in this industry." There was a pause. The plaintiff's lawyer looked toward the judge, who gave a slight nod to continue. "Are you referring to Ms. Blackwood specifically?" "I'm referring to more than just her," Jason replied, voice tightening. "There are figures in this business who have built careers off intimidation, manipulation, and covering their tracks. I've watched it happen." The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Momoa, again, please confine your statements to the matter before us." Jason took a breath, nodded, and leaned into the embassy. Understood. But the gallery had caught it. The phrasing wasn't accidental. The jab wasn't veiled, it was sharpened. Everyone knew who he was really talking about. The comment about power, about covering tracks, it echoed the very rumors swirling around Diddy all week. And it was only going to escalate. The cross-examination began. The defense attorney stepped forward with the practiced coolness of someone walking a tightrope. "Mr. Momoa, Are you implying that Ms. Blackwood is part of a broader pattern of misconduct in Hollywood? I'm implying that Hollywood protects the wrong people, Jason shot back. And when someone tries to speak out, they get buried. Or paid off. Or worse. Do you have any evidence of Ms. Blackwood doing such things? Jason tilted his head. No. But I've seen the circles she moves in. And I've seen what happens when people challenge those circles. There it was again. Another oblique reference. And this time, Judge Wexler didn't interject. The gallery began murmuring. Reporters scribbled notes at full speed. A sketch artist's pencil darted furiously across paper, trying to capture the sharp edge in Jason's face. In the back row, Diddy's attorney leaned forward, whispering to his colleague. They weren't even part of this case, yet Jason's words were setting fires they'd be forced to put out. Jason turned slightly, just enough that his line of sight included the tinted glass behind which Diddy Saturday. It wasn't just theater, it was provocation. The defense counsel tried again. Mr. Momoa, are you using this hearing as a platform to make broader accusations unrelated to this case? Jason didn't blink. I'm telling the truth. And if the truth makes some people uncomfortable, that's their problem. The courtroom was breathless. Judge Wexler leaned forward again, this time firmer. Mr. Momoa, let me be absolutely clear. If you stray from the case at hand again, I will hold you in contempt. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. But the damage was done. Jason finished his testimony with carefully measured answers. He spoke about the plaintiff's inconsistencies, his disappointment with the studio, and his hope that things in the industry would change. But the real moment, the one the world would talk about, had already happened. When Jason stepped down from the witness stand, the gallery didn't clap, but it felt like they might. He walked out with the same quiet intensity, ignoring the flashbulbs through the high courtroom windows. Back in the hallway, someone shoved a phone toward him. Jason, was that about Diddy? Do you regret what happened on the yacht? He didn't answer. But as he passed a glass door reflecting the courtroom behind him, he glanced at it, then cracked a thin, unreadable smile. Inside, court officials scrambled to respond. Judge Wexler ordered a sealed review of Jason's comments, fearing the impact they might have on unrelated proceedings, including Diddy's. The defense team in Diddy's upcoming case had already requested a transcript of the testimony. Online, the explosion was instantaneous. Clips from courtroom sketch animations were paired with quotes and reaction videos. A YouTube reel titled Jason Momoa Blasts Hollywood's Dark Secrets in Court racked up 2 million views in 6 hours. Memes were everywhere. One viral tweet read, Jason didn't name names, but we all heard him. Another said, he turned a witness stand into a battleground. Respect. And Diddy? He remained silent. Officially. But reporters outside the courthouse noticed something strange. Just after Jason exited, Diddy stood up from the tinted glass holding room and walked toward his legal team. He didn't speak. He just scribbled something on a yellow legal pad, tore it off, and handed it to his lead attorney. One of the court sketch artists caught the moment. Later, an observer would swear the note said just 4 words. He wants a war. The tension that had been simmering beneath the surface finally cracked wide open just hours after Jason Momoa left the courtroom. While his testimony wasn't directly aimed at Diddy, no one, least of all Diddy, missed the pointed barbs and deliberate references. It wasn't just an indirect attack. It was a provocation. And now, Diddy was done holding his tongue. His legal team moved fast. By 4 p.m., a motion was filed requesting an emergency sidebar during the next day's proceedings. The document cited irreparable reputational harm caused by irresponsible and inflammatory testimony given by a witness with no relation to the defendant's case. While the document never mentioned Jason by name, the target was unmistakable. Judge Wexler granted the sidebar request. The next morning, as courtroom cameras were set up and reporters gathered like vultures outside, Diddy arrived through a private underground entrance, flanked by a tight circle of advisors. He was in full command of his public image, polished, composed, and unbothered. But those close to him knew better. He was livid. Inside the courtroom, the air felt colder than usual. As the judge called the session to order, Diddy sat stone-faced, his lawyer, Benjamin Troy, rising to speak on his behalf. Your Honor, Troy began, voice even. We appreciate the court's time and understand the importance of due process. However, we must urgently address a matter that occurred during yesterday's testimony, which we believe has prejudiced both the public and this court against Mr. Combs. Judge Wexler raised an eyebrow. Proceed. Troy walked to the center of the floor, pulling out a printout of the court transcript. Yesterday, Mr. Momoa made several statements alluding to toxic power players, manipulation, and payoffs. While he did not name my client directly, the timing and context, paired with an ongoing media frenzy, have led to widespread public assumption that these comments were directed at Mr. Combs. Wexler gave a slight nod, unimpressed. Yes, I've reviewed the transcript. Troy continued. We are not here to relitigate the meaning of vague comments. We are here to protect Mr. Combs' constitutional right to a fair trial. Comments like these, made recklessly under oath, can influence jury pools, incite online mobs, and undermine the legitimacy of this process. From the gallery, you could hear pens scratching against notepads. Troy glanced at Diddy, then back to the judge. Therefore, we respectfully request the court issue a formal rebuke of Mr. Momoa's remarks, and further, that any future references to unrelated individuals or incidents be prohibited from testimony unless directly relevant and substantiated. Wexler folded her hands. Noted. But Mr. Combs is not on trial in this case. The court cannot rebuke a witness for implications, only for perjury or obstruction, neither of which occurred here. Troy didn't flinch. Then may I speak to the court on Mr. Combs' behalf? Wexler raised an eyebrow. Briefly. Diddy stood. The courtroom hushed. Dressed in an impeccably tailored navy suit, he adjusted the mic before him. His voice, when it came, was measured, controlled, but icy. Your Honor, I came here today to defend my name. Not just in this courtroom, but in the eyes of the world. Mr. Momoa's comments were reckless, unprovoked, and beneath the dignity of this court. I've spent decades building a legacy, and I will not allow anyone, celebrity or otherwise, to reduce that to whispered rumors and courtroom theatrics. A pause. The tension sharpened. He leaned slightly forward. If Mr. Momoa wants to make accusations, he should make them plainly. Otherwise, he should keep my name out of his mouth. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Judge Wexler banged her gavel once, hard. Mr. Combs, that's enough. Diddy stepped back, still calm, but the heat was unmistakable. He'd said what he needed to say. And for the first time in this spiraling drama, he'd spoken publicly, directly, and with surgical precision. But he wasn't finished. After court adjourned for the morning session, reporters gathered in the hallway for what they assumed would be a quick, silent exit. Instead, Diddy's publicist handed out pre-written statements to every media outlet in attendance. The statement read, Mr. Combs categorically denies any implication made against him in recent court testimony. He maintains that any rumors tied to past incidents are false, defamatory, and legally actionable. Attempts to use his name to bolster unrelated legal narratives will be challenged forcefully in court. But what caught the media's attention wasn't the prepared words. It was a moment just before Diddy exited the courthouse. A sketch artist, positioned behind the metal barrier, called out, Did he lie, Diddy? Diddy turned briefly, lifted his sunglasses, and said, He left a few things out. And with that, he walked to his SUV. Within minutes, that clip hit every major platform. YouTube thumbnails shouted, Diddy breaks silence. TikTokers reenacted the moment in slow-mo. Twitter, or X, as some insisted, was ablaze with theories. He left a few things out. That's basically a confession, or a threat. Momoa versus Diddy is officially war. Meanwhile, Jason's team remained silent. But privately, sources close to the actor claimed he was not surprised by Diddy's courtroom stunt. One insider told Variety, Jason expected this. And he's ready for what's next. What was next, though, no one could have predicted. Back in chambers, Judge Wexler was furious. Though she didn't hold Diddy in contempt, she issued a warning to all involved parties. This courtroom is not a stage for celebrity warfare. Let me be absolutely clear. If this continues, I will begin sealing proceedings and issuing gag orders. This ends now. But it didn't end. Because someone leaked a courtroom sketch from that morning. A detailed drawing showing Diddy at the mic, jaw tight, mid-sentence. And beneath it, a sharp-eyed viewer noticed a note on his table. Blurry. Almost unreadable. But zoomed in, you could just make out the words. Tell him everything comes out. The internet had its next headline. And Jason? He was already back at his house in Topanga Canyon, pacing. Watching. Waiting. The next move belonged to neither man anymore. It belonged to the truth. It started as a rumor.
A whisper in a chat room.
A blurry screenshot posted on an anonymous forum. But by sunrise the next morning, it had detonated into the single most viral event in the case so far. An alleged secret recording from the 2021 yacht party had been leaked.
The internet went into full meltdown.
TMZ was first to break the story, naturally. A headline in their distinctive all-caps font blared across screens. Leaked audio. Diddy and Jason Momoa's 2021 yacht confrontation. The night everything changed. Within minutes, the article had been picked up by every entertainment outlet from Entertainment Tonight to BuzzFeed News. The audio was only 86 seconds long, poorly recorded, and full of static, but what it contained was nuclear. The first voice was unmistakably Jason's.
Raw. Furious. You crossed the line, man.
I told you to back off. A second voice followed, lower, more calculated.
You don't run this world.
I do. There was a shuffle, as if someone knocked over a glass. A third voice, female, tried to intervene. Stop. This is not the place. Then the line that echoed across every social feed. Jason, you went too far that night.
The clip ended in a burst of static. No names were mentioned. But the implication was damning.
Social media exploded. #Momoa vs Diddy trended worldwide in under an hour. #You went too far overtook TikTok, with creators lip-syncing the now iconic quote. A conspiracy subreddit launched a megathread called Everything We Know About the Yacht Night.
Speculation spun into overdrive.
A verified entertainment lawyer commented anonymously to a blog that, yes, NDAs were signed following that event. That alone lent credence to the theory that something had gone catastrophically wrong on that yacht, and that everyone had been paid to stay silent.
But now? Silence was no longer an option.
Jason's team was caught off guard by the leak. They issued no statement but were spotted arriving hastily at his LA residence later that afternoon. Photographers captured Jason stepping outside briefly to speak with someone on the phone.
He looked rattled.
Not afraid, just cornered. Meanwhile, Diddy's team moved into damage control mode. A statement released to Variety denied the authenticity of the tape. We have reason to believe the recording circulating today has been digitally manipulated and is part of a coordinated smear campaign. Mr. Combs denies all allegations and intends to take legal action against those responsible for the leak. But forensic audio experts were already being consulted by media outlets. And two of them went on record. The voices? Over 90% match certainty with Jason Momoa and Sean Combs. At that point, denials became pointless. The Federal Bureau of Investigation issued a rare comment that same evening. We are aware of the materials circulated today and are assessing their relevance to ongoing investigations. That single sentence was enough to paralyze both legal teams. What had once been a civil mess now had the glimmer of criminal scrutiny. The stakes had shifted. Outside the courthouse, the energy was different. No longer a fan spectacle, this was protest. Dozens gathered with signs. Protect women in Hollywood.
NDAs equals silence.
#Justice for Lana.
Say her name.
Lana Cruz, the once vanished model at the center of the storm, hadn't been seen in over a year. But now her name was on banners, t-shirts, and Twitter bios. The public didn't just want the truth. They wanted justice. They wanted retribution. The media turned ruthless. Podcasters hosted multi-hour breakdowns of the 86-second clip. Audio engineers tried to isolate background voices. One theory claimed a fourth person was present, someone breathing heavily into the mic, possibly the one recording. More chilling was the second theory, that the person recording the conversation wasn't a bystander, but someone paid to do it. The idea was floated that Lana herself, or someone close to her, made the recording in case the truth ever needed to come out. The implication? Someone always intended to leak it. The only question was, why now? Inside the legal war rooms of both camps, phones rang non-stop. Jason's publicist warned that staying silent could begin to look like guilt. Diddy's lawyers scrambled to issue takedown notices on platforms like YouTube and TikTok, but by then, it was too late. The leak had been re-uploaded thousands of times. The clip had even hit the New York Times front page. Back at the courthouse, Judge Wexler ordered an emergency private hearing. Attorneys from both sides were summoned. In the closed session, she was reportedly furious. "You are playing with fire," she said, according to leaked transcripts. "This is no longer about public image, this is about perjury, obstruction, and potentially criminal misconduct. If either of your clients have additional information tied to this incident, I suggest they present it now. Or the court will find out on its own." The court imposed a partial gag order on both teams.
But the public? They didn't care.
An AI-generated animation of the yacht confrontation, synced with the leaked audio, hit TikTok the next day and was viewed over 40 million times in 24 hours. By the end of the week, Netflix reportedly reached out to both legal teams, inquiring about the rights to a docuseries.
And the final blow?
A voice memo was sent anonymously to multiple newsrooms.
Short. Distorted.
Just 5 words. You think that was it?
That clip alone sparked a fresh round of panic.
Because if this was just the first leak, what was coming next? Back at his canyon home, Jason sat in silence.
He listened to the tape again and again.
Not because he questioned its authenticity.
He knew it was real. He remembered the yacht. He remembered the rage. The fear.
Lana's face.
The things said behind closed doors.
And he knew, if that 86-second clip was out, then someone had everything.
And they were just getting started. By the time Monday morning dawned, the courthouse was surrounded.
What had begun as a legal curiosity had grown into a full-scale media siege. Satellite vans, protesters, and fans formed a disorganized mass across the front plaza of the Roybal Federal Building. Security barriers were doubled, police deployed crowd control units, and for the first time in years, the U.S. Marshals issued a formal statement confirming increased on-site enforcement due to heightened civil interest in active legal proceedings.
It was chaos. Controlled, but barely.
Jason Momoa arrived early, avoiding the crush of cameras by slipping through a service entrance. A black SUV dropped him at the side of the building, where 2 plainclothes security officers waited. His face was unreadable, stoic, tight-lipped, focused.
He wasn't here to play celebrity anymore.
The leak had changed everything. He knew the footage had sparked something irreversible. The crowd outside didn't chant his name the way fans once did on red carpets.
They chanted Lana's.
Justice for Lana. No more silence. Expose the system. Jason didn't acknowledge them, but he heard every word. And as he passed through the metal detectors, he noticed something strange. Even the courthouse staff avoided eye contact. Like they all knew what was at stake, but no one wanted to say it aloud. Diddy, on the other hand, made an entrance. At precisely 10:15 a.m., a glossy black Escalade pulled up to the back entrance. The crowd had grown dense by that point, spilling into the street. He stepped out flanked by 3 attorneys, wearing a sharply cut white suit with sunglasses and a diamond-encrusted watch that sparkled even in the shade. It was a look that screamed invincibility. But the crowd didn't flinch. They booed. Some shouted slurs. One protester hurled a water bottle, which struck the SUV. Police swarmed immediately. Diddy's security closed ranks, but he didn't look shaken. He paused for just a second, turned to the cameras, and adjusted his cufflinks, then walked inside. A few seconds later, his face was already trending on Twitter under #DiddyStrolls and #Suit of Denial. Inside, tensions were no better. Court officers walked stiffly, eyes darting between Team Jason and Team Diddy. Lawyers were tight-lipped, clutching tablets and whispering in coded language. But the sense of escalation was inescapable. No one knew who was going to speak next or what might leak before they did. And beyond the walls, the internet devoured every frame, every rumor, every offhand comment. Then, mid-morning, came the tweet. From an account with over 12 million followers, belonging to a major A-list actress who had once co-starred with Jason Momoa in a blockbuster film. I said nothing in 2021. I stayed silent for Lana. But I saw enough to know that not everything that night was just a misunderstanding.
It was a pattern.
And Jason isn't lying. The post went viral instantly. She deleted it 15 minutes later. But by then, screenshots were everywhere. Other celebrities began chiming in, some vaguely, others more boldly. A famous R&B singer tweeted, "Sometimes, being in the room is enough to haunt you for life." A Marvel actor posted on Instagram, "Hollywood doesn't protect the innocent. It protects the powerful." The effect was undeniable. The industry was beginning to fracture, live and in real time. And the narrative, once blurry, was sharpening. Lines were being drawn. Talk show hosts couldn't ignore it either. By the afternoon, every late-night monologue was rewriting its script. On The Tonight Show, Jimmy Fallon joked, "I don't know what's scarier, courtroom tension between Diddy and Momoa, or being the judge trying to keep those two from throwing chairs." Laughter. Applause. But under the humor, a quiet discomfort. Everyone knew this wasn't entertainment anymore. It was reckoning. Meanwhile, inside the courthouse, Judge Wexler was running out of patience. The legal teams were arguing over how the leaked recording might influence the proceedings, whether to delay hearings, admit new testimony, or even call for a mistrial in one of the overlapping civil cases.
Tensions flared in the side chambers.
One court clerk claimed to hear shouting from behind closed doors, someone saying, "He's lying. They are all lying."
It wasn't clear who said it.
But what was clear was this: both camps were falling apart.
To make matters worse, protesters began blocking exits that evening.
Some knelt in the street, refusing to move until anyone, acknowledged Lana Cruz by name in court. Others handed out pamphlets linking similar NDA-covered incidents across the industry.
And still more screamed directly at the courthouse steps. What happened on that yacht? Then came another bombshell.
A reputable independent journalist released an expose connecting the 2021 yacht incident to a previously unreported civil settlement involving an unnamed female entertainer and two high-value public figures. The article stopped just short of naming names, but featured enough legal breadcrumbs that readers had no trouble connecting the dots. The article also alleged that the payout, close to $2.3 million, was processed through a shell company based in Luxembourg.
The internet lost its collective mind. More influencers spoke out.
Activists staged a sit-in. Memes circulated that said, "We broke the NDA. Now break the silence." Back at Jason's home, a team of advisors begged him to issue a formal statement. Something to clarify his position, denounce the harassment, show leadership.
But he refused.
"I'm not hiding," he said quietly. "But I'm not cleaning up their mess with PR spin."
He turned on the news.
Footage played of Diddy waving briefly to reporters on his way out of court. Then Jason's own face, frozen on the stand mid-testimony.
The anchor spoke solemnly.
The fallout continues to grow as the courtroom war between Jason Momoa and Sean Diddy Combs takes center stage. What began as a chance encounter may soon become the defining scandal of the decade. Jason muted the TV. He stared at the screen for a long time before saying to no one in particular, "If they think this is over, they haven't heard everything yet." The courthouse was quieter than usual that morning, but the silence was deceptive. Everyone inside knew something was coming, something big. Word had spread late the night before. An unexpected witness had emerged. The affidavit landed on Judge Wexler's desk at 11:42 p.m., delivered directly by federal courier.
The sender was redacted. The content? Explosive. A first-hand account of the 2021 yacht party. Not from Jason. Not from Lana.
But someone who claimed to be in the room when the confrontation unfolded, and to have seen everything. By 7 a.m., both legal teams had been notified of the new witnesses' intent to testify under sealed court protections. By 8 a.m., Diddy's attorneys had filed a motion to block the testimony. By 8:07 a.m., Judge Wexler denied it.
The day's hearings were postponed. A closed-door session was scheduled instead. No media. No cameras. No phones.
Only the principals and their attorneys were allowed inside. Jason arrived first, once again opting for the side entrance. His team was unusually tight-lipped, their expressions strained, even nervous. He wore no suit this time, just dark jeans, a black button-up, and a wool overcoat.
He looked tired. Alert.
Almost braced. Diddy arrived 20 minutes later, flanked by 3 attorneys and a federal liaison. Unlike his usual swagger, his entrance was subdued. He didn't speak to anyone, barely acknowledged the reporters waiting at the security perimeter.
Something had shifted.
Once everyone was assembled, the new witness was escorted into the courtroom from a separate wing.
It was the yacht steward.
His name, Mateo Alvarez, a then 23-year-old part-time worker for the private charter company that operated the 2021 St. Barthélemy trip. He had remained under NDA and out of sight, until now. Mateo was clean-cut, nervous, wearing a cheap gray suit that didn't quite fit. His hands trembled slightly as he took the stand in front of 2 of the most famous men in the world.
But his voice was firm.
Judge Wexler reviewed his affidavit and swore him in. "Mr. Alvarez," she said, "you understand the gravity of your testimony." "Yes, Your Honor," Mateo replied. "I've stayed quiet for too long." He began by describing the initial hours of the yacht party: laughter, music, high-profile guests, and expensive liquor. But as the night wore on, he said, things turned. Lana looked uncomfortable by the second hour, Mateo testified. She kept trying to get away from Mr. Combs. "I noticed her whispering to Mr. Momoa more than once." "Did you see any physical altercations?" the judge asked.
Mateo nodded.
"Not a fight?"
Not at first. But an argument. Loud. Heated.
Between Mr. Momoa and Mr. Combs.
It started on the upper deck. I was just outside the lounge clearing glasses.
I heard everything.
He swallowed hard. Mr. Momoa said, "She told you no."
Walk away. And Mr. Combs replied, "Don't tell me what I can or can't touch."
She's here because I invited her. A sharp intake of breath filled the room. Jason's jaw clenched.
Diddy looked away. I stepped closer, Mateo continued.
I shouldn't have, but I did. Lana was crying.
She said, "You promised you'd behave this time."
The phrase echoed in the chamber like a gunshot. Judge Wexler's tone grew heavier.
And what happened after that?
Mateo hesitated. Mr. Combs tried to grab her by the arm. Mr. Momoa stepped between them. That's when the shouting started.
And Mr. Momoa said, "Excuse my language, you do that again and I'll throw your ass off this boat." And did anyone intervene?
Wexler asked. Yes. Me.
I hit the emergency comm and called the captain.
But before anyone arrived, Mr. Combs stormed below deck.
Lana left a few minutes later on a speedboat. We had to arrange emergency transport.
I was ordered to delete all CCTV backups. I didn't.
I kept one.
Silence. That was the bombshell.
The room froze. You have this footage?
Wexler asked carefully. Mateo nodded.
I've submitted a copy to the Department of Justice. Under seal.
Diddy's attorneys erupted.
This is outrageous, Benjamin Troy barked. We are blindsided by a key witness in a closed-door session with unreleased evidence? This is legal ambush.
Judge Wexler cut him off sharply.
Mr. Troy, your client had 3 years to disclose this incident. The witness only came forward after learning the footage was never fully destroyed.
The court will allow it.
Jason sat back, staring at the table, motionless.
Mateo concluded his statement with one final blow.
I was offered $250,000 in cash to stay quiet, he said.
I took the money, but I never cashed the check.
The hearing ended in chaos. Judge Wexler immediately suspended both civil cases. She ordered a federal review into the testimony and instructed all parties to remain available for follow-up subpoenas.
Gag orders were expanded. Transcripts sealed. But nothing stays sealed for long.
Within hours, someone leaked Mateo's name to the press. By nightfall, his photo was plastered across news sites, the yacht steward who could end 2 careers. Online, the reaction was swift and vicious. Jason was praised for his restraint.
Diddy was buried in hashtags.
#throw him off the boat.
#believe Mateo. #you promised you'd behave.
Mateo's GoFundMe, created by his sister, raised $280,000 in a single evening.
Diddy's team went radio silent.
Jason's rep issued a statement. Mr. Momoa thanks Mr. Alvarez for his bravery. He has no further comment at this time. Netflix formally announced a documentary development deal based on the case within 24 hours. And in a moment that broke the internet, Lana Cruz, long silent, long missing, posted a single message to Instagram.
A black square.
White text. No caption. It read, "I remember everything."
The courtroom sketch that would define the scandal was drawn in silence. No cameras. No audio.
Just the harsh scrape of pencil on paper as Jason Momoa leaned across the courtroom aisle and whispered something directly into Diddy's ear. The judge had just adjourned the closed session. Federal prosecutors had taken Mateo Alvarez into protective custody. The cases were officially paused, pending review. But this moment, this split second between 2 titans of fame, wealth, and pride, was not in the official transcript.
Only the sketch artist captured it.
A small, powerful tableau. Jason, lips close to Diddy's ear. Diddy, mid-turn, eyes wide. Both frozen in a cold, private exchange that would ignite a firestorm. The world wouldn't know what Jason said for days.
But by the time they found out, the war was already over.
As court let out, the chaos outside had only grown.
Protesters chanted.
Media surged. Barricades buckled. Jason exited quietly through the East Wing, escorted by federal marshals.
He didn't wave. He didn't speak.
Diddy, on the other hand, didn't exit at all. According to multiple courthouse sources, Diddy remained behind closed doors for over an hour.
He requested a private consultation room. His lawyers joined him. His head was reportedly buried in his hands.
For a man who had once strutted through scandals, this time was different.
Something had broken.
By evening, the sketch went viral.
Jason whispering, Diddy reeling. Theories exploded across platforms.
Did Jason threaten to release more footage? Is he telling Diddy to confess? Was it a warning or a goodbye? Reddit threads grew by the minute.
TikToks reenacted the pose.
Digital artists reimagined the scene in oil paint, manga, even Lego. But then, the unthinkable happened.
The audio leaked. Again. Not from Jason. Not from Diddy's camp. Not even from the court.
AMIC left hot for a few seconds too long during the clearing of the chamber, picked up by a courtroom tech, and anonymously posted to a whistleblower server. It captured Jason's whisper.
You lied to the world. But you never lied to me. I remember what you said to her after we all left. And so do they. That was it.
Those few, quiet words ignited an irreversible collapse. Within hours, federal agents served subpoenas to the yacht's ownership company, demanding full GPS logs and employee rosters.
A grand jury was convened in secret.
Mateo Alvarez was granted temporary immunity. And most damning of all, Lana Cruz formally contacted federal prosecutors.
She was ready to talk.
Her attorney, speaking on her behalf, released a statement that brought everything crashing down. Ms. Cruz has remained silent for 3 years under fear, intimidation, and legal constraint. But after the testimony of Mr. Alvarez and the bravery shown by Mr. Momoa, she is prepared to give her full account. She will cooperate fully with federal authorities.
It was over. Diddy's PR machine sputtered to a halt. Sponsors pulled contracts. Business partners quietly distanced themselves.
The record label he'd helmed for decades announced an independent leadership transition. One by one, the walls closed in. A week later, a documentary filmmaker announced a 6-part limited series titled The Yachts of Silence, The Fall of Diddy.
Netflix greenlit it within hours.
Social media had already chosen its villain, and its hero. Jason Momoa wasn't just a movie star anymore.
He was a symbol.
Memes called him Aquaman turned Avenger. T-shirts bore his court quote, "You lied to the world."
And Diddy? He became a punchline.
Late-night hosts who once treaded lightly now opened their monologues with, "Apparently, what happens on the yacht doesn't stay on the yacht." Lana's return to the spotlight was carefully managed. A still photo released by her legal team showed her seated at a table, no makeup, expression solemn but clear-eyed. Her message, shared in text below, was short and haunting. Silence doesn't protect you. It just delays justice. As the cases moved behind closed doors, now criminal in nature, the public spectacle finally began to cool.
But not before one final headline delivered the last nail in the coffin.
Court documents, unsealed under public pressure, revealed a previously redacted witness.
A name long buried in sealed files.
Justin R. Carter, an entertainment manager and longtime associate of Diddy's inner circle. In his statement, he confirmed the payment to Lana Cruz.
He confirmed Mateo's story. And he confirmed one more thing.
Diddy knew cameras were recording that night.
And he ordered the deletion. Twice.
The court called it willful obstruction of justice. No spin, no dance, no music video could outrun that.
Jason never returned to the courtroom. He issued no farewell press conference. No interviews. No memoir deal.
He disappeared to Hawaii for a while, quietly photographed surfing alone.
Reporters tried to follow. None succeeded.
But one moment did go viral. A tourist snapped a candid photo of Jason placing a single flower at the edge of a rocky cliff.
No caption. Just the image. The flower, many noted, was a white hibiscus.
The symbol of truth and peace.
And Diddy?
He issued a final statement through his lawyer. "I maintain my innocence. But the truth has a way of deciding its own ending." Then he vanished from public life.
No one has seen him since.